Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think I'm speaking for a lot of people when they say we're heartbroken when a family member is taken through an act of gun violence, whether it be a child or anyone else, but particularly children. That's just a heartbreaking episode in society. And I think most people would appreciate the fact that there are thousands, if not millions, of Americans who saved their families from home invasions or violent assault because they had a gun to protect themselves, and most of us are glad it ended well for you. So those are the two bookends. And you mentioned, Captain Kelly, and I very much appreciate you being here in your service to the country, about you and your wife are reasonable Americans. I don't doubt that one bit. I'm sure you are. The question is, am I a reasonable American if I oppose this bill? Am I a reasonable American believing that the Constitution says guns commonly used by the population as a whole for legitimate purposes? Being in support of the Second Amendment, I don't want to own a gun to attack my government. That's not what I think a legitimate purpose is. Let's talk about a real-world incident that happened in Loganville, Georgia on January the 4th, 2013. My basic premise is that one bullet in the hand of a mentally unstable person or a convicted felon is one too many. 6 bullets in the hands of a mother protecting her twin 9-year-olds may not be enough. So, I've got a chart here. The very top is a .38 revolver, and on the right is a 9mm pistol that holds 15 rounds. Does everybody on the panel agree that a convicted felon should not have either one of those guns? Does everybody agree that a mentally unstable person shouldn't have either one of those pistols? Okay, common ground there. Put yourself in the shoes of the mother. The guy broke into the home. She ran upstairs. She hid in a closet. She got on the phone to the police, and she was talking to her husband in real time. The intruder broke into the home, had a crowbar, and he found him in the closet. And they were confronted face to face. According to media reports, her husband said, "Shoot, shoot." She emptied the gun, six-shot revolver. The guy was hit 5 of the 6 times. He was able still to get up and drive away. My question is, put your family member in that situation. Would I be a reasonable American to want my family to have the 15-round magazine in a semi-automatic weapon to make sure if there's 2 intruders, she don't run out of bullets? Am I an unreasonable person for saying that in that situation, the 15-round magazine makes sense? Well, I'll say I don't believe I am. So I can give you an example of where a 15-round magazine could make the difference between protecting a family if there's more than one attacker. Now, back to your point, Captain Kelly. In the situation you described, I don't want that person to have 1 bullet or 1 gun. And the point of regulating magazines is to interrupt the shooter. That's the point of all this. And I guess what I'm saying is that we live in a world where there are 4 million high-capacity magazines out there or more. I think the best way to interrupt the shooter if they come to a schoolhouse is not to try to deny the woman in Atlanta the ability to have more than 10 rounds, but to have somebody like you, Chief Johnson, meet them when they come into the door. I think that's the best way to do it. Now, my good friend Joe Biden, who we have very spirited conversations about a lot of things, was online recently talking to someone in California who mentioned the fact, what if there's an earthquake out here and there's a lawless situation? In 1992, you had the riots in Los Angeles. I think it was the King event. But you could find yourself in this country in a lawless environment through a natural disaster or a riot. And the story was about a place called Koreatown. There are marauding gangs going throughout the area, burning stores, looting and robbing and raping. And The Vice President said in response to, that's why I want my AR-15, he said, no, you would be better off with a 12-gauge shotgun. Well, that's his opinion, and I respect it. I have an AR-15 at home, and I haven't hurt anybody, and I don't intend to do it. But I think I would be better off protecting my business or my family if there was a law and order breakdown in my community, people roaming around my neighborhood, to have the AR-15, and I don't think that makes me an unreasonable person. Now, Ms. Trotter, when you mentioned that you're speaking on behalf of millions of women out there who believe that an AR-15 makes them safer, there was a lot of giggles in the room, and I think that explains the dilemma we have. The people who were giggling were saying to you, that's crazy. Nobody I know thinks that way, which reminds me of the Harvard professor who said, I can't believe McGovern lost. Everybody I know voted for him. And I bet there are people on our side can't believe Obama won because everybody they know voted against him. The point is that we have different perspectives on this. And the reason I'm going to oppose the legislation, Chief Johnson, is because I respect what you do as a law enforcement officer. Has your budget been cut?
Yes.
Will you think it'll be cut in the future?
I'm optimistic that it will not.
Well, I hope you're right, but I can tell people throughout this land, because of the fiscal state affairs we have, there will be less police officers, not more, over the next decade. Response times are going to be less, not more. So, Captain Kelly, I really do want to get guns out of the hands of the wrong people. I honest to God believe that if we just arbitrarily say nobody in this country can own a 10-round magazine in the future, the people who own them are the people we're trying to combat to begin with, and they can be a situation where a mother runs out of bullets because of something we do here. I can't prevent every bad outcome, but I do know, and I do believe in the bottom of my heart, I am not an unreasonable person for saying that in some circumstances the 15-round magazine makes perfect sense, and in some circumstances the AR-15 makes perfect sense. And I think our efforts to solve a problem that exists in the real world out there from Washington by having more gun laws that really do not hit the mark, so to speak, politically or situationally, that we're off base. But this is why we have these hearings, and I really do appreciate the fact that we have these hearings. Professor Koppel?
Either one.
Okay. Some people on our side say, and I'll wrap this up, Mr. Chairman, that it's unconstitutional to put a limit on magazine size. Do you agree with that?
I think if we follow Senator Schumer's approach and say we're going to follow what the District of Columbia versus Heller Supreme Court decision says, what that tells you is the core of the Second Amendment is the firearms and accessories that are commonly owned by law-abiding people for legitimate purposes.
Is it constitutional to say 10 rounds versus 15?
10 is plainly unconstitutional because, as I was trying to explain to Senator Durbin, magazines of up to 19 are common on semi-automatic handguns and up to 30 on rifles.
I don't know if 10 versus 19 is common or uncommon. I do know that 10 versus 19 in the hands of the wrong person is a complete disaster. I do know that 6 bullets in the hands of a woman trying to defend her children may not be enough. So I don't look at it from some academic debate. Let's agree on one thing. 1 bullet in the hand of the wrong person we should all try to prevent. But when you start telling me that I'm unreasonable for wanting that woman to have more than 6 bullets or to have an AR-15 if people roaming around my neighborhood, I reject the concept.
Thank you.